Hello, my name is Stuart and I'm the Assistant Director of Education and Public Programs at the National Library of Australia. Welcome to this Discovery video, in which we'll explore the E.A Crome Collection, a rich and diverse collection full of pictures, manuscripts and objects, telling some of the fascinating stories of Australia's aeronautical history. The E.A Crome Collection documents the stories of people who navigated Australia's skies in the golden era of aviation. In those early days of flight without GPS or radar, successfully navigating across the wide country came down to the pilot's ability to read the land or the skies. The geographic landmarks and celestial bodies of this continent have guided travellers long before the first plane took to the skies. The first people of Australia have trusted the land and sky to point them safely to their destination for generations, and have repaid this guidance with caring for the land and preserving its knowledge for generations to come. The National Library of Australia acknowledges Australia's first peoples, the first Australians, as the traditional owners and custodians of this land, and we acknowledge them as the first navigators of the continent. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and through them to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Ernest Alfred Crome was born in Sydney in 1902. He became fascinated with aviation in 1919 when he witnessed the arrival of a Vickers Vimy in Sydney, piloted by Ross and Keith Smith, who had just completed the first flight from England to Australia. From then on, he began collecting aviation material. In 1928, Crome met Charles Kingsford Smith and Charles Ulm. His collection is especially rich in material relating to the career of these two men. The library acquired a substantial quantity of Crome's collection in 1966, including photographs, manuscripts and objects relating to aviation. The library also interviewed Crome as part of its oral history project, in which he describes his collecting and some interesting stories behind some of the objects.
Today they're finding, by people who have been interested in the air and collectors, they're finding rare envelopes or cards or even pamphlets that have been thrown out of balloons, aeroplanes, and from this they're finding records of people and events that have been long since forgotten. But now they're beginning to find the very important links that create the story of aviation.
Crome continued to make donations to the library for the rest of his life, and after his death in 1987, the library received what remained of his collection. During his life, Crome also donated around 20,000 items to the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney, along with music, manuscripts, and books relating to his other lifelong interest, violin making. The collection held by the library spans a range of formats including 250 books, magazines and pamphlets, flight logbooks including those of the crew of the first transatlantic flight in 1928. There are 1,145 photographs depicting early aviators and planes. Many of Australia's early aeronauts were pilots during the First World War. While the collection does hold images and objects relating to military pilots and aircraft, it is primarily focused on civil aviation, with the bulk of the collection consisting of around 30,000, yes, 30,000 aero-philatelic items. For those of you who don't work in a library, that's items relating to airmail, and other civilian flight-related ephemera, including menus, photos, and leaflets. One of the great things about the National Library is that our objects and collections are free and available for anyone to come in and view them. All you need is a library card. One of the other great things about the National Library is that we understand not everyone lives in Canberra or can get here easily. To that end, we have digitised a huge amount of our collection and have made it freely available online. You can access these collections wherever you are. You don't even need a library card. The Crome collection is no exception, with almost 2,500 digitised items. I'm going to show you how to find out more about this collection, how to locate it in the catalogue, and along the way look at some of the standout moments from Australia's aviation history. Locating the collection is a simple matter of finding your way to the National Library's website, opening our catalogue and doing a search for E.A Crome. If you're looking to browse the whole collection, you can work your way through the 127 pages of results. However, if you're only looking to see what's available digitally, you can use the narrow search buttons along the side here and limit to all online. It doesn't narrow down the pages too much, but you can at least know all results are viewable online. Now, if you're looking for photographic material, you can scroll through the pages, but I would suggest using this result. This is the catalogue entry for the formed photographic collection. Clicking through, you can get an overview of what you might find inside. Using the link down the bottom, you can open the Trove viewer and click Browse this collection. You now have all digitised photos at your fingertips to scroll through with a short description of each. Once you find one you think you might be interested in, just click the thumbnail and you'll get the full image in high definition. I like the look of this one, here. So I'll click through and we can now see the gorgeous de Havilland Comet, Grosvenor House, the winner of the McRobertson Air Race in 1934. The air race took place as part of the Melbourne Centenary celebrations. Organised by the Lord Mayor of Melbourne and with a prize of £15,000, teams vied to fly from RAF Mildenhall in East Anglia to Flemington Racecourse in Melbourne in the fastest time possible. Grosvenor House took out the trophy with a flight time of 71 hours. The second place winner, a team from the Netherlands flying a Douglas DC-2, UEVA, made the trip in 90 hours and 13 minutes, despite an unexpected stormy stop in Albury. You can read more about that side adventure on our digital classroom. The link's below in the description. The pilots of Grosvenor House, Flight Lieutenant Charles William Anderson Scott and Captain Tom Campbell Black, not only took home the prize money, but a spectacular trophy. The Crome Collection holds one of the few photographic records of this trophy. The trophy is reported to have been melted down to aid the Red Cross Fund during the war in 1941. Using the Trove newspaper archives, you can see one of the other existing photos of the trophy in an article reporting the plans to melt it down. There are too many photographs in the collection for me to go through all of them today, but if aviation is your thing, there should be enough here to keep you busy for days. The Crome Collection is rich in manuscript material. This is defined as items, usually handwritten, that are not published or made commercially available. Items including personal correspondence, play scripts and the like. The main groups of manuscripts in the Crome Collection consist of papers and memorabilia of some of Australia's early aviators, records of Australian National Airways, Imperial Airways Limited and other airlines and aircraft logbooks between 1925 and 1940. It is important to note here that of the manuscript collection, only the logbooks and the Aero-philately items are digitised. Among the most important items digitised are notes exchanged between the crew of the first Trans-Pacific flight in 1928, the log kept by Charles Ulm on the flight of the Southern Cross from Richmond to Wyndham in 1929, ending with a forced landing at Coffee Royal, and the log of the Southern Cross on the first east-west crossing of the Atlantic Ocean in 1930. The digitisation of the aircraft and engine logs were made possible through the generous financial support of the Dick and Pip Smith Foundation. To find these notes and all the other manuscript material in the collection, we can once again search for E.A Crome in our catalogue and use the narrow search format function to limit to manuscripts. And here, the first result we can see the papers of Ernest and Verti Crome. Clicking through this record will open a finding aid. These guides make it easier to navigate through large collections. This finding aid was published with the assistance of the E.A Crome Trust. Here you can see we have several logbooks listed in Series 1. Each one of these is a whole logbook with many pages in them. You can scroll down here or in the contest list here to find what interests you and then click through. I mentioned the Southern Cross and the first Trans-Pacific flight just a moment ago. Here are a collection of notes passed between the cockpit and the cabin during the 9-day flight. Clicking the icon will bring up images of the pages within. You can click on an image to see it up close. Here we can see the optimism of the crew as they neared the end of their journey. You can use the next or previous links along the top to scroll sequentially, or use the Browse This Collection link along the top to jump back to the overview and browse. You can follow the breadcrumbs to get back to the guide and continue browsing. This finding aid also includes the Aero-philately collection full of airmail paraphernalia, postcards and stamps. This first album here also has a few early photos in it, including this image of W.E. Hart, the first person to qualify for an aviator certificate in Australia in 1911. And on the next page, 2 photos of Harry Houdini. Yes, the going over Niagara Falls and a barrel illusionist Houdini, who made 3 flights in Australia in 1910 at Diggers Rest near Melbourne in a single-engine voice-in biplane. The rest of the album is more in line with the philately collecting: postcards, souvenir material, autographs, flight covers. It does also have objects connected to one of the most unusual eras in world aviation history, the age of the airship. From 1908 to 1939, Zeppelins, or German airships, carried passengers, mail and cargo around the world. The postmarks and stamps were highly prized by collectors, and revenue from postage financed much of the operating costs. This water-resistant mail pouch from LZ-127 Graf Zeppelin, which would be thrown from the moving airship close to the receiving post office, has instructions in 4 languages for the finder. Please deliver the contents of this post bag immediately to the next post office. Attached to the pouch, the long striped cloth tail to increase its visibility. The collection also includes the parachute used to drop mail bags from the infamous LZ-129 Hindenburg. Crome made no distinction between collecting items that a library might archive or a museum might archive. As a quirk of this collecting, the library has a number of objects and artefacts relating to some of Australia's early aviation exploits, including this, a suitcase. It might make sense that a suitcase is related to air travel, but this one isn't famous for carrying luggage. The inscription carved on the front tells you all you need to know about this object's history. Bag used to transport oil in Southern Cross Jubilee Airmail Tasman Flight 15 May 1935. C. Kingsford Smith, P.G. Taylor, John S. W. Stanage. In 1935, Charles Kingsford Smith was again in the news for his exploits. Flying a now ageing Southern Cross on a promotional Trans-Tasman mail run, 800 kilometres into the journey, a chunk of metal broke off from the centre engine and shattered the starboard propeller. The crew turned back to Australia, a flight of 10 hours, into a headwind. The plane began to lose altitude and cargo was jettisoned to lighten the craft, but the engines struggled. 2 hours into the emergency flight back, the port engine began losing oil. Notes passed in the cabin show the crew's concern. 12:20, port engine giving out, may not last an hour. In a now famous act of bravery, the Southern Cross co-pilot Bill Taylor walked out along the starboard wing to collect the disabled engine's oil in a thermos, which he then emptied into the leather suitcase held by John Stanage, the radio operator. He walked out along the wing and filled and emptied the thermos 6 times, and then reversed the operation on the port side, filling the hemorrhaging port side engine from the contents of the suitcase. The next note passed among the crew reads, 12:56, sunlight, still in the air, Bill hero, climbed out and got oil for dud motor. Followed by, Bill's the world's greatest hero. He transferred about 1 gallon of oil. Hope to see land in about 10 minutes now. As it approached the coast, the Southern Cross was escorted to Mascot Airport in Sydney, where it landed safely. This would be her last flight. What a remarkable story, and the nerve. And what better way to preserve the memory of the event than to carve your name into the suitcase that helped save the day. Ernest Crome acquired the suitcase and notes for his collection, and they were among the first objects donated to the library by Crome in 1966. Before I leave you to explore the collection for yourself, I do want to mention the legacy of E.A Crome. After his death, Crome left a bequest to the National Library of Australia. The E.A Crome Trust Fund was to be used to continue documenting the Australian aviation industry and to maintain his collection. The E.A Crome Aviation Project is currently 2,368 images strong of the modern Australian aviation industry, showing modern aircraft terminals, maintenance, and the process of modern air travel. The project also extends to collecting oral history recordings of people who work in the aviation industry. It's worth noting that these modern recordings unfortunately are not available digitally, as they are bound by access restrictions imposed by the interviewee. But historic recordings of Crome himself talking about his collection are available online. As I've said, this collection is vast. Within it, it includes just about every type of material the library collects. Photographic material, paintings, manuscripts, books, magazines, audio, maps, the list goes on. While it's not possible to show you everything that is online in this collection today, I hope I have sparked your interest in discovering more about it. If you have further questions about items within the collection or need help accessing it, don't forget you can submit an Ask a Librarian request on our website. Our reference librarians can work with you to help you find what you're after. Thanks for watching.